Good day, ladies and gentlemen, this is Professor Ma. Our president is responsible for safeguarding the national reserves. Hence most Singaporeans would be surprised to know that the president does not know the actual amount in the Singapore reserves. The Singapore reserves refer to the total assets minus liabilities of the government and other entities specified in the 5th schedule under the Constitution. Government's assets include physical assets like land and buildings, as well as financial assets like cash, securities and bonds. Government's liabilities include the Singapore Government Securities, SGS, which are issued for the purpose of developing our domestic debt market and providing a risk-free benchmark against which other risky market instruments are priced off, and the Special Singapore Government Securities, SSGS, which are government bonds issued to the CPF. Board, CPF. Monies are invested in these special securities which are fully guaranteed by the government. The securities earn for the CPF. Board a coupon rate that is pegged to CPF rates that members receive. The story behind the value of the Singapore reserves started with the late President Ong Teng Cheong, who was the first elected president of Singapore. Soon after his election victory in 1993, President Ong was tangled in a dispute with the government over the access of information regarding the Singapore reserves. The government said it would take 56 man-years to produce a dollar and cents value of the immovable assets. President Ong discussed this with the Accountant General and the Auditor General and eventually conceded that the government could easily declare all of its properties, a list that took a few months to produce. Even then, the list was not complete. It took the government a total of 3 years to produce the information that President Ong requested. At this juncture, Professor Ma would like to highlight that what President Ong received from the government was only a listing of the immovable assets, and the information provided to President Ong did not include the value of the assets. One important point to note is that in terms of value, the largest component of the Singapore reserves is land owned by the Singapore government. For example, the value of Temasek's portfolio is 382 billion Singapore dollars as at the 31st of March 2023. Hence we can do a quick estimation that the value of Temasek, MAS, and GIC added up would be about 3 times of Temasek, which would therefore be about 1.2 trillion Singapore dollars. In comparison, Professor Ma estimates that the value of the land owned by the Singapore government is worth about 250 trillion Singapore dollars. The fact of the matter is, it is extremely difficult to estimate the value of the land owned by the Singapore government. For example, we know that gold is currently trading at $1,900 per ounce, but if all the governments in the world decide to sell all their gold reserves at this moment, the price of gold would drop to less than $1,000 per ounce. Likewise, the Singapore government controls the 99-year lease price of land through the government land sales program. Given the fact that the government land sales are done via open tender, we can assume that the government is getting fair market value for the 99-year lease of the land. Hence the president technically does not need to know the value of all the land owned by the Singapore government in order to safeguard our reserves. In subsequent videos, Professor Ma will explain more aspects of life. In the meantime, please help by liking and by subscribing. Thank you.